People love to be in love. A person can have love for their family, their friends, and even pets. But romantic love is a different story. Falling in love can be as easy as 1, 2, 3, if science agrees with you. The first stage of love, lust. From an evolutionary perspective, love is associated with reproduction. Each person is created from an unbroken evolutionary chain beginning from their early ancestors. People are innately driven to reproduce healthy offspring to continue this ancestry. The first stage of lust is driven by the sex hormones estrogen and testosterone in both men and women. People are automatically more drawn to a person through physical attraction. Someone they believe looks fit and capable of creating healthy offspring is usually what one finds attractive. Which brings us to the second stage, attraction. When someone finally does find that person they are attracted to, chemical signals travel to the brain. To understand how our brain receives thoughts and feels emotion, we must understand the basis of neurons and neurotransmitters. Neurons, or nerve cells, have the capability of sending electrochemical signals when they are stimulated by sensory input or are activated by other neurons. Although nerve cells vary, they all have the soma, dendrites, and the axon. The soma holds the nucleus, the mitochondria, and other cell material, which is the cell body. The dendrites receive the signal of action potential from other cells and relay the signal back to the soma, which releases an electrical charge down the axon to its terminals, releasing the charge to its neighboring neuron. The chemical signal is received by the synapse, the contact point between each neuron. The synapses cover the tiny dendrites, which very closely align with the neighboring axon but never touch. This minuscule interstice is called the synaptic gap. The action potential goes to the axon terminal, which activates the chemical messengers and jump the synaptic gap, landing on the receiving receptor site. The messengers that carry this chemical signal are called neurotransmitter. This process is what causes emotion. When someone is in love, the neurotransmitter dopamine passes through the mesolimbic pathway, sending chemical signals to the frontal cortex of the brain. The mesolimbic pathway relays positive messages, allowing the person to experience feelings of pleasure and euphoria. Dopamine is also known to act as a reward system, which is the reason the person in love gets a feeling of satisfaction when they see their person of affection. The adrenal gland releases a hormone norepinephrine, also known as adrenaline, which is an excitatory neurotransmitter. Excitatory neurotransmitters rev up the neuron, increasing action potential. Norepinephrine gives the person arousal and an upbeat heart rate, which is responsible for the fluttering heartbeat one may feel when they are excited. The surge of adrenaline causes blood to rush to the brain, lungs, and muscles in the body, leaving very little blood for your stomach. The motivation, craving, and desire to be around that person more often is due to low levels of serotonin, an inhibitory neurotransmitter. Inhibitory neurotransmitters decrease action potential. Serotonin is linked to feelings of happiness and well-being, and low levels of serotonin are found in patients diagnosed with OCD. Because of this off-balance serotonin level, people in love may seem to be obsessed with one another and might feel uneasy when they're not with their significant other. During romantic love, the amygdala and parts of the frontal lobe sleep, which are both related to judgment. The amygdala is responsible for controlling judgment on negative aspects, but because of the surge of hormones, it becomes clouded. Pleasure centers of the brain are also elevated when one is in love, being affected by things less easily. A person in love is not only in love with the person, but also in love with the world around them. These situations are a realization of the phrase, love is blind. Stage 3, attachment. Oxytocin, or the commitment neuromodulator, is a neuropeptide produced by the pituitary gland. Oxytocin is related to bonding and attachment to another being, which is interesting because the molecule itself has many bonds. Unlike dopamine, this effect is usually more long-lasting. It is released when people cuddle, touch, and feel personal bonds. Oxytocin also increases the likelihood of a couple to act monogamously.